Welcome to the Prompton Podcast, the podcast where we separate market myths and mortgage meltdowns and decode the fine print of real estate so you don't have to. I'm your host, James Walker, here to guide you through the twists and turns and occasional real estate horror stories. Ladies and gentlemen, buyers and sellers of all ages, welcome to the Prompton Podcast. We're back once again on this beautiful Vancouver Tuesday. The sun's out, and we are post-Easter weekend. We're here once again with Brian Higgins and Connor Kinsella. Both of the YVR Global team, both exquisite realtors, both exquisite humans, and we're here to chat about some more Vancouver and what it has to offer in the real estate market that is. What's going on? What'd you guys do this weekend? Obviously, you had the Easter Bunny come to your house. Yeah,
big time. Lots of chocolate. Yeah.
Many Easter egg hunts. We were with the family over in Nanaimo for the weekend, and then came back to do.
All the way there.
Oh yeah, more Easter egg hunts back home. I think we did about 3 of them this weekend. So.
Did you just do one for yourself?
Yeah.
Anything else exciting to do this weekend? Just kind of laid low?
Not too much. Sun was out, so nice to be outside for sure.
Any open houses?
Yeah, we had definitely a few going on. Traffic was so-so.
Was it so-so? Because usually on the long weekends you avoid it a bit, right?
Yeah. But then if people are shopping, they're serious.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? That's all you guys did?
Just family time this weekend. No active listings over on the island, so no open houses for me. But
did you do some random door knocking?
Yeah, exactly.
I went to the Rock Orchestra on Friday night, and I was saying I've actually been rather disappointed with concerts recently between the price and what it is, and I have to say that the Rock Orchestra just rocked. It was amazing. You had this girl on violin, and they're playing "Sweet Child of Mine," but like the saxophone guys doing the vocals. It was amazing. It was awesome. Did you get screwed by the ferry in Horseshoe Bay at all?
No, I heard that there was about a 5 sailing wait on the way over there. We took the new Hello ferry.
Is that the one that like, eats the seals?
The walk-on ferry from downtown Vancouver right into Nanaimo. So it was
What's that one?
Pretty easy. It's a piece of cake. Hour and 10 minutes door to door. But it's walk-on traffic only, so it's it's easy. It's good. Oh, I don't know. My girlfriend booked it.
Fair enough. I didn't know there was that right now.
Yeah, they started last year.
Yeah?
And it's been we've taken it 3 times over the past year, and it's been fantastic.
Sounds way
super
better.
Quick. It's just carry on, bring your luggage, no cars. And I've heard it's just been a nightmare over the past week with all these car ferries from Horseshoe Bay and Tawasin and 5 sailing waits. And so it's
my mother-in-law lives up on the Sunshine Coast. It's beautiful to go up there. It's great once you get up there, but it's just, if you don't have a reservation, you just don't even bother.
It's a nightmare.
I'd rather do many things in my life than sit there and just you're screwed. So, okay, we got a couple things to talk about, and the first thing I want is an opinion piece. Now, there's no, how do I put this? It's obvious that right now this the relationship between the United States and the United States and Canada is quite strained, and the CBC did a article on U.S. tourism hotspots, more in Canadian travel cancellations. Have you personally canceled anything going to the States? Are you thinking about it?
I haven't. I've spoken to a couple people this weekend alone that have canceled travel plans to the United States, but I'm not there quite yet.
Yeah.
However, it is very costly. Although I think the Canadian dollar's come up a little bit over the past week, it's very costly going to the United States. So it's definitely something to think about. And it seems to me, at least the last couple of times we've flown down, we have a place in Scottsdale, so we try to get down 3-4 times a year. Very costly round-trip airfare, $1,200 compared to it usually being...
$1,200?
$1,200 compared to it usually being $300-$400 depending on the time of year.
Usually that's like a long weekend, get-up-go type place. Like, it's so cheap, let's get this last-minute airfare. But does that just not exist anymore?
It seems like with inflation, those airfare rates are long gone now. Right, honestly, the airlines are charging big dollars. Yeah,
because that used to be like a thing. Like you'd fly, like I got a long weekend, let's bust down to Arizona, let's do an Airbnb for a weekend and just lay by a pool and hang out. But at $1,200, that doesn't make sense.
I think it depends on the time of year, really. I think kind of moving into the summer months where it's now on average over 100 degrees Fahrenheit each day.
Your shoes melt when you walk outside.
Yeah, you can fry an egg on the pavement. The fares probably come down a little bit compared to Christmas time, the holiday season. It gets pretty busy. Spring training baseball throughout March, it's busy. Fares go up, but then nobody wants to deal with 100 to 115 degree temperatures throughout the summer. So you probably get cheap airfares at that point. But
do you know anyone else who's considered, like, because we have a place down in the United States, and it's just down in Birch Bay. It's like 20-minute cross, but it's not like we can't go there. I'm going to deny going there because of what certain people are doing in government versus Canada. But does anyone else been affected? Because they're saying in this article, like, it's very noticeable for like Canada to New York tour guides, and Arizona is one of the ones they were talking about when people aren't going. And do you know anyone personally that's like said, no, I'm not going to the States? Because I personally have not. I don't know anyone who said,
there was definitely an initial movement, I think, when the whole tariff situation came out.
Buy Canadian,
right? Exactly, elbows up. But it's also when I think you're going to see the airlines move a lot of flights. We have a flight booked next month, and got an email this weekend saying that your flight has been rerouted to Calgary, and it's leaving the next day.
Because they're trying to fill it now.
Because they're trying to fill it. So now you've got to scramble, and I think there's going to be a lot of people like that where it's like
you had a nonstop probably.
We had a nonstop.
And now you've got kids, and now you
so
have a layover.
We canceled, and then we rebooked with another carrier.
Yeah.
So
that's not happening.
No.
Right?
No.
Flights with kids, get me there, get me off.
One door, see you later.
Exactly. Who's ever lived in the West End? I know our producer, whatever you want to call her. Amy, you live in the West End, right?
Yeah.
How long you lived there for?
4 years, 5 years.
How long has marijuana been legal in Canada?
I don't know.
I don't even know. Like, I don't even smoke. It doesn't matter. But the 420 Sunset Beach, the event Up in Smoke. I don't know if, like, I lived there. Oh boy, I'm aging myself. Like 20 years ago down in English Bay.
We were probably at the same time.
And the 420 event that always happened down there. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was thousands of people, I swear.
Was that on again this year?
That was on again this weekend.
Sunset Beach?
Yeah.
Right over Easter.
Yeah. And I guess there was
Right
like
over Easter.
9 people joined.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it.
But didn't they revoke? There was because I think they were selling booths before and stuff.
It's always an unofficial event.
Yeah.
It's not saying do. But the Sunset 420 event goes up in smoke, is the article by City News Everywhere. And despite warm weather, Vancouver's unpermitted 420 events were notably smaller compared to previous years. After attracting thousands of cannabis lovers, the gathering at Sunset Beach has now been reduced to a few people and picnic blankets. I just thought that was very interesting because it used to be like something. People like, you see bong hits going through the air.
Maybe because it was illegal.
That's the whole
right?
thing.
Yeah.
Now it's not cool.
Yeah.
Now it's legal. Now it's like
yeah.
you're trying to rebel against your parents, but now it's like they say go for it, and you're like, well, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Well, they must have congregated somewhere else. Art gallery or something along those lines. I can't imagine, but maybe it has to do with the fact
Cartems.
I'm just sure.
Exactly.
But if you had ever seen that event back in the day, you would know what I'm talking
Wild.
about. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was
Thousands of people there, all just doing whatever. And this one I didn't share with you guys, but this is a story, and we should share it on the podcast when on the Instagram and everything we do it. But it's a sale of a 115-year-old home, and this is on Daily Hive, derailed by thumbs up emoji that lands in BC Supreme Court. And this is just fun because this is if you read the article, we do need to share it so it has context. But this is a story of 2 brothers who decided to sell their home without a realtor, which I'm not promoting realtors, but at the same time I am. And the one realtor guided the 2 brothers through the sale of their home, did all this stuff, said, hey, you got to do a counter offer, you should sign this. And what happens when we send a counter offer from our sellers back? They sign it, right? They say, hey, if you accept this counter offer, we got a deal, right? And these 2 brothers sent back a counter offer.
Thumbs up emoji.
They didn't sign it. And when the realtor asked them, okay, we accept you, what's your terms? The sellers sent back a thumbs up emoji. They thought they had a done deal. And then all of a sudden, the sellers wanted to go to a lawyer and check this all over. And actually, buyers took them into court and lost, let you know, that a thumbs up emoji does not.
Of course they lost.
Of course they did.
Not create contract law.
No. And there's a whole bunch of ruling and why the judge went that way, but it's one of those benefits to having a realtor. So instead of going through this whole thing, maybe you have actual guidance and not a thumbs up emoji to say, hey, this is cool, go for it.
Would make sense.
Okay, first news article. I don't think we're feeling this as much here right now, but I keep hearing, and maybe you have as well, about the doom and gloom that's happening in Toronto right now. Like it's, have you heard about it?
A
A little bit here and there.
about it, but not enough.
Home sales cancel. Sorry, I'm getting bombarded by ads. Home sale cancellations surge nationwide as thousands of deals fall through. And this is from Newsweek.com. And they're talking about in this situation just how bad the market out east, down in America is and everything else. You being living and breathing the market right now, it's not that bad in Vancouver.
We've got 3 deals in contract this week. I mean, at the end of the day, headlines will grab people. I think right now, because of the federal election and given the tariffs, some may be a little bit more trepid in transacting. But all that means is that there's a far greater wave that's coming. So I think the idea of the doom and gloom on the lack of buyers in the market is somewhat, cyclical based on what's going on with the words coming south of us from their president, and also what the stock market has been doing in terms of the turmoil. And then at the end of the day, buyers typically like comfort. So whether or not the election goes blue or red up here, once that's solidified, people will transact.
Yes,
So
I agree.
it's consumer psychology, and it's a time with unknowns. Typically, consumers often pause.
Yep. Well, they're saying here, according to the Redfin data, and it's Redfin, roughly 52,000 purchase agreements were canceled in March. The equivalent to 13.4% of homes that were sold that same month.
But how would they have aspect of
How do you have-
cancellations
exactly.
of contract? Because a
Contract
contract,
resale versus
like,
That's just in
is
general.
that going pending on their MLS and then it's being dropped?
Their MLS has questionable data at best down in the United States because they don't have a great MLS like we
Yeah.
have up here. They don't share data. You'll have Oregon Northern Board, Oregon South Board, where just as an example, right? It just shows though, because right now isn't the president trying to get rid of the who's the people, the Fed Reserve?
Powell.
Powell,
Jerome
right?
Powell.
So the turmoil down there is unbelievable. But I think what really shows is that once again, the Vancouver market is just unfazed, right? We're slower, resilient, right? Like in COVID, during the economic downturn in 2008, 2009, we got through everything, right?
Small blip.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. I think that the underlying principles of Vancouver real estate based on supply and demand tend to insulate our market far
Yeah.
more than others.
Yeah. Any conversations you've been having, Connor, about people? Are they on the fence? Are they saying, "Hey, I want to wait this out. I want to see what's going on"? Are they?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a buyer's market right now. I think that there are a good amount of buyers out there that are looking for a deal. Well, how much under asking can we get this? Can we get a good enough deal to pull the trigger now? What's going to happen in the market over the next year to 2 years? Nobody has a crystal ball, but I even heard at an open house the other day another agent talking about their buyers saying that they're hedging their bet. And maybe this plays into what's happening in Ontario and the East Coast a little bit, but my client has an accepted offer on this other one, but we're keeping our options open, and if we see something better, they've been instructed by their client, if we see something better, well, maybe we'll jump at that and we'll just not remove subjects on the other one.
Oh, they're doing that game.
I don't know if that's a big thing right now, but certainly people are after a little bit of a deal. Rates are probably going to come down. They've just held the rates recently.
Mistake?
I think
this-
they needed to cut again.
Yep.
I think they needed to cut again. Maybe they cut.
I think everyone agrees with that sentiment.
Yeah. So there's definitely buyers out there looking. It's everyone seems to be after a deal, and then you've got sellers that aren't willing to let go of their properties. So I don't know if we come to some sort of a.
Well, we had a property. Actually, I didn't tell you guys this. On Thursday, we actually made an offer on a property. The owner bought it in 2021. And what was the market in 2021?
Nothing but
Crazy.
Yeah.
It was up, 40
Rainbows and
offers,
unicorns.
people going nuts. And I'm not even doing the offer myself. Our family friend is doing the offer for me, and she came back with an offer price of $2 million. It was listed at 2.3. I offered 2, and they told me to literally go up myself. So they wouldn't even counter me, right? But based on the sales and comparables in the area, that's what it was. I'm sorry you overpaid in 2021, right? So I think going back, that's what made me think about it, is because you're right, Connor. I think people are looking for a deal right now. And I think in Vancouver, although the rest of the world seems to be crumbling right now in North American real estate, and all I'm hearing about is Toronto and bailouts and everything else, I don't see it that bad here. I see developers launching product here, whether they fully want to or not right now. I did just read an article. Did you see that one? You might not have. It was like a 26-house development bought for $100 million over on Vancouver East side, assessed value of $50 million. This is crazy numbers. But yeah, that's what I want to talk about there. And I think once again we are insulated as Vancouver, and people need to just keep calm and move on.
And keep in mind, Toronto had a condo boom where Vancouver did not at the end of the day. So you look at the amount of cranes that went up in Toronto kind of right to the tail end of that run.
Yeah.
Toronto developers capitalized massively. Show me the housing starts in Vancouver proper versus Toronto. Were a fraction of what they were. So, I mean, it's crazy because, I mean, you see it a lot in terms of social media, but there was a lot of hype selling over there, and government interaction can kill some of that hype selling, and those buyers are well underwater.
Well, that actually will be the segue to our next one here, government interaction. So, Vancouver City Council rejects calls for expanded citywide tenant protections to avoid hindering new rental house supply. Okay, so to those who don't know, and if you are unaware, they are building, how much money are they spending on that Broadway corridor, skyline, whatever the heck you want to call it? It's like a $19 billion. It's like, it's
To Arbutus?
Yes.
Yeah, and what was
It's
it?
a lot
What
of
was
money.
it? What was it originally scheduled for?
wasn't like $2 billion budgeted, now it's up to 4 or something like that.
Or more.
Yeah, they just doubled it.
Yeah.
And we're actually dealing with this in a manner because Concord has a rental purpose building there, and there is debate whether all the protections that the city of Vancouver has given the Broadway corridor, which is going to be all high density rental housing, it's very stringent on what you have to allow them to do. So if you're a developer and you bought the land there and you're saying, hey, we're going to rebuild this property, Mr. and Mrs. Renter, you need to leave, they're getting first right to come back and 20% below market value. So you're getting a very good deal, right? And there was a push by, it was a rental advisory committee to allow that to be across Vancouver. So that's quite serious, right? And the question I have for you here is, it says even in the article here, it's very much a chicken or egg situation. So if we were to, and this got voted down, just so you know, 5-4. We're not going to go through who voted which way. But if you already have what we're calling a housing crisis, we have an affordability issue, and you can't get developers to build rental housing, how would this have worked to say, hey, anyone you kick out of a building is going to come back and rent this place at 20% below market value when you already can't make the numbers work for rentals, and pushing it through further across citywide? It would just have been, in my opinion, detrimental to the developers in trying to make these numbers work, which are already having a hard time doing if you're not getting the proper FSR and you're probably getting the density you need to build these towers high enough.
Even then, you look at construction costs, you look at, that whole CMHC program in terms of what is the MLI Select. I mean, the capital, even if the government was funding the build, is not inexpensive at the end of the day. And then the idea of bringing the people back at below rates on a site that'll take 5 or 6 years to do. This is exactly it. I mean, again, you look at right now what's happening in the GBRD. Some of the biggest builders are going to be the Indigenous. You go down to Burrard,
You're just segue master. That's the next one, right?
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't have the same guardrails that the rest of the market may, and they also don't have to operate within what the city of Vancouver limits are. So they're...
What's that beach over there where they're doing those 4 massive towers? Kitts Beach?
Oh, Kitts Point there? Yeah.
What do you think, visually wise, compared to the park we had there before and they did the... What do you think?
It's tough, though, because this is a typical Vancouver aspect that many will say, like the NIMBYism, right? You look at the Broadway corridor, as you spoke of, but somehow NIMBY allowed it to go to Arbutus and not get the line out to UBC. You've got the digger already in the ground. You've done all the hard work down Broadway. The easy site is left out to UBC going under golf courses and estates, and yet NIMBYism kills that. So, people will always be against or for development, right? At the end of the day, we do have an aspect where we will be under numbers of homes needed for the population that is living here based on what we're slated for. So we need to encourage construction.
Well, our numbers are down 72% or something construction right now. And yes, we always lag a year behind. So we're not even feeling the effects right now of construction build and homes we need based on, President Trump and the tariffs and everything else is going through and the job loss and whatever's happening, we're not even feeling this yet, right? That's a year later down the road. So the saying right now is survive to 2025. Now it's survive 25. And what's going to be just like, kill me now, it's 26?
Right?
Get your ass kicked in 2026.
Yeah, there you go. Get your ass kicked in 2026. Perfect. We're going to start that. Actually, get some shirts ordered. We need that.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah. The optimism's real. So you're not even feeling what the effects are yet, and we're already way below the housing starts we need to do. So going back to the whole rental part, I get it. It's an unaffordable city. I really do. But I think we talked about this before, vilifying developers and that, the cost. If you just look at the numbers in the Excel spreadsheets and whatever it is, like the one that, last building I heard, the rental-based building, $200 million to build. And that's just standard, right?
And how many years at the end of the day?
Exactly.
Right.
You have labor, holding that loan, holding the interest, and everything else that goes along with it. And that's based on today's numbers, not what's going to happen tomorrow when the price of steel goes up and everything else and whatever's happening, right? It's just, and we lose workers and everything else. It's just nuts, right? So we'll post this article as well. And there's different opinions. If you are a rental advocate, I get it. You want it. I understand what you're doing. I really do. You want to try to make it so that your average person can rent in the city. It's just really hard to make the numbers work.
It is, and you won't, on the rental side, you won't get enough of a boom to really quell the demand at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So it's going to be difficult.
Exactly. Going back one more, you talked about the First Nations land and construction on Jericho lands, and has anyone seen this monster? Like it's ridiculous. It's like a whole Olympic village they're building,
Pretty
bigger.
wild.
Could begin in 2028. I find that mind-blowing. Field just keeps a massive Jericho Landville emerged last week during a public hearing, which it's going to go through because it's First Nations. It's going to happen. And the City Council listed roughly 70 public speakers just before midnight, with the decision on formally turning the content of the January 2024 pre-approved policy statement for the project into an ODP, deferring it to April 22nd. So this thing is going through. It's going to happen. There'll be 13,000 homes on the site, so please make sure we share this link, because looking at this thing and the sheer magnitude and size of it,
Behemoth.
it's another thing. It's massive. And yes, these are artist renderings. It may not look that exact way, but once again, this goes back to what you were saying. When you're in this different land usage, right? Sure, they're going to build what could probably never be approved on Kitts Point there, anywhere else in the city.
Absolutely not.
It's going to get approved there. And the Jericho site, which is just, it's just going to be unbelievable.
But I think we have to also look at it from the benefit. That's going to bring in, shopping and retail and CRUs, probably daycares and the rest. It's going to bring in the train line out to UBC.
Yep.
Like that will be the catalyst that will take that extension from what is Arbutus to UBC, because when you put almost 14,000 homes on the Jericho lands, you're going to need to move people outside of vehicles.
I wonder how this would work for the downtown core even more. Because we talked about it in the other podcast, about how, for lack of a better word, shitty Granville Street is and everything. And then you go create what could be a new up-and-coming, like, entertainment hub down in Jericho. Like, that's a lot to do, right? And then I think this is just totally going on a rant now, I think the only thing that can save potentially the down, because Yaletown's still, I never go to Yaletown. Yaletown's still good? How do people feel about Yaletown?
Still very positive, for
Still
sure.
very positive, good restaurants.
It's easy living. You've got good restaurants nearby. It's easy transit.
Is that, would you say, our best, it's only a real place to go in Vancouver right now?
Pretty well. It seems like most people gravitate to Yaletown. I
Yeah.
think people are a little bit worrisome about, partying, drinking on Granville Street, given all the criminal activities that happen
Yeah.
on. But that stuff happens everywhere, just maybe not as much in Yaletown, but
It's probably our number one spot, though, right? It's
sure.
somebody who doesn't live downtown anymore.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But you've got the Canada line right there, so it's easy for people to come
Easy
and
to
go.
get to, no big
exactly.
deal.
Exactly.
Not lastly yet, we have a listener request. So, Brian, been in real estate for a long time. Connor, how many years now?
5 years?
Really? 5 years?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Dealing with rejection without taking it personally. If you're a realtor, how do you deal? I hate rejection. Makes me sick. But how have you dealt with it in the past? Connor, I know you've been door knocking everything lately. How do you deal with the rejection? How do you deal
Well,
with
I think coming from a sales background, working in tech previously, being on the phones all day, every day, calling, C-suite executives trying to sell product.
What'd you sell before?
A number of different things: audit, risk, and compliance management software, data analytics software.
I just fell asleep here.
Yeah, it's pretty tiring.
That's the most boring thing I've ever heard.
But you deal with rejection all the time. You have people telling you, no, we don't need that. No, we're not interested. Lose my number. You get it a little bit in real estate now. We do a lot of door knocking in particular areas, but for the most part, if you're taking something tangible to somebody and giving them positive or information that they want to hear about, they're pretty receptive to it. So it's not too bad really on the real estate side of things. The other side is mail campaigns, but you're not really. It's either you don't hear back from somebody, or you hear a positive response saying, "Hey, actually, this is quite timely."
I think it's like 0.1 return on investment when you do mails or something. Like you have to just hammer the area.
You got to keep it going.
I think I told the story in the train a while ago, but the best door knock I had was 6-8 months ago, whatever it was, and the neighbor across the street, she passed away, and her daughter was selling her house. And this guy knocks on my door about 6 p.m., right when you'd want to do a door knock because you know someone's home. And I opened the door, and immediately I knew it was a realtor. You can just tell. They just have this ooze of realtor off them. They smell like it. And he bangs my door. He says, "Oh, hi, are you the owner?" I says, "Yeah." And I'm going to let him go through his spiel. And his door knock was, "I have clients interested in purchasing the house across the street. I'm just wondering if you have anything to tell me about the neighborhood." I've never had that before. I thought it was a really clean entrance to knocking on my door. Instead of, "Hey, looking to buy or sell." I've literally had that. "Hey, you looking to buy or sell?" No, go away.
Different approach.
And I actually thought it was very clean the way I've got clients, they're looking to buy. "Can you anything you can tell me about this neighborhood that I should know?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll tell you. It's a clean neighborhood, it's nice. My kids are loud across the street, but it is what it is." It's a good reason to door knock, right?
We'll be out of town between this day and this day. If you want to come case my property,
exactly. But if I was actually, that lightning strike looking to door, that moment when you're trying to capture that person to buy or sell, that would have been a great opportunity for him. And I actually thought that was quite good.
I think that's a good opportunity. I think that's a good messaging to come in with. Instead of coming in with, "Hey, how long have you lived in the neighborhood? Are you planning on selling anytime soon?" Or, "I've got buyers looking to move into."
No, you don't.
They'll just slam the door in your face for the most part. But if you have something a little bit different, more edgy than other realtors are doing, and open it up softly, I think it probably works.
It was good. It was a really good entrance, and I hate that when people say, "I have buyers for your area." No, you don't. No, you don't. We all know you don't. Stop telling me you got buyers from your area. What do you think, Brian?
I think at the end of the day, the conversation needs to be intentional.
Yep.
Right? And much like that, because if somebody's going to try and knock at your door, tell you that they're the realtor you're going to hire, the likelihood is going to be zero, right? And slam the door. So if they can come in with a bit more of an intentional approach, the likelihood is there's probably greater success.
Yeah, good. Second listener email, or request, whatever you want to call them. We don't actually have emails; they're requests from people. Why most agents quit, and how not to be one of them. Honest talk for veterans, tactical views. So you're 5 years now. You're statistically you're 15.
Yeah, 13.
You're well past it. Your phone rings without doing anything. You're in that sweet spot that most realtors want to get to. You're at the 5-year mark. That's where you're over the hump.
Yeah.
They used to say you had to make it 2 to 3 years. 5 years when business starts to come to you and start to get the referral.
Mm-hmm.
How are you finding and what was your hardest part to get over? 5 years in.
I mean,
ups and
somebody
downs.
just asked me the other day, where does all my business come from? And most of it is
The golf course.
Sphere of influence, the golf course, the tennis court. But you have to find leads and you have to find business elsewhere. And if you're not listing, I think you're probably dead, is what they say. Mm-hmm. Buyers are liars, and if you're not listing, then you're probably dead in this business. So. I think it's just finding business from a number of different avenues, having a number of different funnels, whether that's marketing, whether that's door knocking, whether that's attending and putting on events in the community, whether that's a wide array of different things, and that was kind of what I had to do. Not to say that I'm so busy with my referrals and my sphere of influence that I don't have to worry about that stuff. I absolutely have to worry about that stuff. Otherwise, I just won't make it. And I
Don't
think
ever take your foot off the pedal.
Totally.
Yep.
And I think a lot of agents that, get into the business and expect, I'm going to get business from my family and friends. Mm-hmm. Sure, you'll do your first few deals from that group. But if you're not in the market, you're not working towards finding leads or business from a number of different avenues, then you're probably not going to last long.
Absolutely.
Anybody can sell 10, 15 homes in a good market. It's the challenging markets that you have to deal with. And I've had my years where I'm struggling with that as well. It's like, oh my God, it's been a month or two since I haven't done a deal. Where's my next deal going to come through? So you've got to keep going. You got to keep door knocking. You got to keep doing letter drops. You got to do podcasts. You've got to go out and meet people face to face. I think.
Well, no one listens to this, so this isn't going to help your business.
Yeah,
Just saying.
fair enough.
You're
That's what we were
You're going to
doing
get
here.
0 leads from this at this point.
I think the most important thing is getting face to face with people. I really enjoy door knocking. Again, we spoke about it a little bit earlier. If you have something tangible and interesting that you're going to give to people instead of, here's my business card. If you're going to think about listing or anybody looking to get into the neighborhood, give me a call. Yep. People are more receptive to it, and I think your chances in getting listings or business from that goes up substantially. So,
Brian,
Yeah.
why do you think most agents fail? You've had a good number join your team and fade out and everything else.
Yeah,
So what do you think
yeah.
there's been there?
I mean, I think when you look at markets, it's easy to gravitate towards real estate, and lots of people do in a hot run, and we've definitely seen a few of those over the last couple of decades. I think the reason why people fade out is they're not willing to put in the needed work to get to a level that can become maybe reoccurring at the end of the day. It's one I look back on it. I mean, I was licensed in 2012. I probably worked nonstop for the first 6 years at the end of the day. So it was sneak peeks, open houses, 6 to 10 hours a week type thing to get in front of the public.
Yep.
And grew the business organically that way. So it's one, if you're willing to outwork your competitors, you're likely going to be able to build up enough of a true proper business model that it will become reoccurring. If you're not willing to dedicate that time early on, then the likelihood for success is probably dramatically decreased at the end of the day.
You didn't get a $100,000 paycheck and a free BMW when you got your real estate license?
No, definitely not. I mean, I wrote the test in April of 2012, and I did my first 2 deals in September of 2012.
Nice.
Right. So yeah, it's one that it isn't immediate, but at the same time, traction is very important, and work ethic.
What was
Right.
your first deal?
Family,
friends?
No, one was a referral,
Yeah.
and one. I mean, I was up against very big agents that I knew their names very well, and people that I respected when I was 32 years old in the business. That, and then also one down on Marina side, and that listing I turned into over 147 closed deals.
Beautiful. That's the dream right there. From a managing broker point of view, what I see is agents who come into the business and they try to be a Connor, or they try to be a Brian, or they try to be Maria, or whoever it is, and they don't work on their strengths that they have. Like, Connor, you are not a Brian, and Brian, you are not a Connor, right? And that's just simple ways, and neither of you are me, or vice versa, and all the way around. And when you go to certain brokerages, that's what they teach you is kind of the ABC of real estate. And the first thing you got to do is go after listings. Well, I might not have any listings, but I got a whole bunch of buyers on the go. So the first thing you should be working on is your buyers, right? And there's so many agents who come to the office and they say, do you have your buyer's guide? Do you have your seller's guide? Do you have anything? And they go, oh yeah, they gave me one. It's some regurgitated thing that everyone else has and everything else. They have no value towards it, but they're trying to be someone they're not. They're not putting their time, like you said, into it in the beginning to work and figure it out, and what's your value, and what am I good at, and what are my strengths and weaknesses and everything else. Because if anyone truly knows himself, they know their strengths and weaknesses, right? I can stay focused on something for about 3.5 seconds before I go walk off and do something else. You're kind of like me in that sense. Brian, on the other hand, very dedicated, very sharp, very focused, will sit there and read something for 4 hours. Me and Connor are off like
Thanks, James.
cleaning windows, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think defining knowing your strengths, but also defining your knowledge. If you're gonna be in a competitive situation for a listing against 3 or 4 other people, why is that individual going to list with you versus the other 14,000 people that are at the board?
Exactly.
So
half the realtors on the board don't sell any homes per year. Remember that.
But at the end of the day, right? They may have they might have an uncle or a great aunt,
everyone knows
right?
everyone.
So yeah, it's one that I think you need to be researched and well spoken to the points that actually matter and the points that resonate with that potential consumer.
Yep. I think that's good. I think we got our little half hour, but we're just about the mark. But we have to get to. Well, I can't go, but you have to get to
An event.
I can't say Maria. Let's just say Maria Stanovic, our amazing realtor from Prompton. It's her birthday lunch today, and we just want to wish her happy birthday while we're here on the show. And Connor's going to go there and drink all of her imported Romanian
Rosé,
whatever it is. And that is our podcast for today. We will be back next Tuesday. This one really snuck up on us because usually we got like a day to prepare and get things organized. It's like Easter.
It was a long
straight into
weekend,
it.
Friday,
Exactly.
Monday.
That's what we do it on Tuesday, though, and that's why I'd be committed. So, Connor, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, James.
Was it as bad as you thought it was going to be?
It's fantastic.
Worse, right?
Yeah,
Much worse.
I'll be here next week.
We won't even be able to get rid of you now. We'll just be be staring through the window, walking back and forth, waiting to get invited in.
Exactly.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. Thanks for
everyone.
listening.
Cool.
Bye.